I want to make a tape expressing my appreciation that the people of Tacoma who have some sense are showing some forbearance towards me regarding the often abhorred views I have developed regarding my field of research in cinema semiotics and the effect of political figures operating from that domain on our challenges for the time we live in. They're, however, in need of a word of caution. So are those who feel better knowing that some people are reproaching with me. They're operating from a position of strength. And I want to explain how that can be when they have obviously been so wrong. They just out of the view that's been expressed to me by people who are good with organized resistance. There's a former Black Panther online, for example, who said this. He said, we don't have time to wait for the courts to work or for media to operate properly, telling us what's being done by really very dumb, short-sighted people who are behaving like insane pygmies, chasing each other around with spears while destroying the planet. Pigeon heads like Joe Biden, nevertheless good at organizing people. And the feed into the admiration for organizations of strength is something I don't know anything about. All I did, I was a library clerk. I'm deaf. I was used for a long time by people who didn't really have my best interest in mind. That's pretty obvious from the way I turned out, which is deaf, battered, alone, impoverished. But finally, overcoming some odds by getting a grip on what happened. And I would urge you to consider the possibility that in their urgency to get cracking, they don't understand what really happened. The script, it's primarily Sam Baghrila's dream theory that John Lennon really died and he was needed to lead a movement that should be understood and led by others. And the person who bequeathed this wrote the script about his death, who is in partnership with this now reproaching group of people. A 20-foot image of her playing violin is, after all, in Seattle Center. It bears considering. You see, what you need to understand is that it's not enough that we agree that the idea that Hitler was forgiven by the force of Jesus and became Casper under the spiritual powers of John Lennon. It's not enough that we understand that this is in the fourth dimensional manuscript, tracing back to Fayum and Ouspensky at the turn of the 20th century, when Mussolini and D'Annunzio and the Italian futurists were working with D.W. Griffith. It's not enough to know that. You have to understand that the answer to the question what happened when it comes to this, the third mirror, is found in cinema. And what is found in cinema explains all of it. John Lennon got the starring role. His death was the ultimate deep fake. It was the plan of this counterfeiting done from the beginning. They extended these Italian futurists into the future when they could use media as a Mount Everest system to change the course of human destiny and control what people believed. They had a slogan, there's no such thing as objective reality, only what the jury believes. When they had me in D.C. for Reagan's night out in Foggy Bottom waving at me. What was I doing there and with who? Of course, it was his attorneys from the Federal Emergency Management Agency in Israel. John Lennon's attorneys, the people Martin Luther King got his information about me from Pitt. The Shulman people, the Milnes people, Tommy Carbonell people, the Wells Fargo people, the King Crimson people, the David Bowie people had me there for this. Night of pretending. As Bogart said, for your sake, I let them pretend that they won World War II. Is what he meant. For your sake, I let her pretend. And he was talking about Ingrid Bergman, who played Martha Gellhorn. Bergman came from Hitler's studio system. So did the mirror system. So people can agree that the evidence shows that Kennedy was killed over Hiroshima, that Reagan did it and needed an alibi, so he set up a story about him being attacked too, just to cover for the fact that he put the mirror in the killers. People can accept that. They talk about Donald Toon's staged and phony but very serious incident in Butler. And they can buy that the institution of marriage turned out to have been a holy war epidemic. Two virgins clocked to AIDS, limiting a mark of color, promoting the good kind of black man who would never, ever engage in guerrilla theater pseudo productions to entrap a symbolic white to make money with the gold gangsters in Hollywood. Never, ever. They can buy that. But they can't buy what really happened, which is John Lennon's Houdini. So they reproach. Because the way that I've been serially victimized and tortured, which nobody cares about, by doctrine. How dare you care about yourself enough to insist that what really happened be noted. Comes at a time when there's a fight going on about digital identity. Let me ask you this. Dovetailing with this call for urgent action. What are they going to put under surveillance? The books we read? Or is it the books we write? I think I should be reproached with on the strength of what really happened. I don't think we need the substitution story that allows Yoko Ono to clamber up on the shoulders of the Sandbagger Law movement of the Freedom Flotilla and announce that John Lennon has risen from eternity in the name of Casper, which is what they're pulling. It was all set up in Fayum over 100 years ago. They didn't just leave it to one out hippie that happened to go out that night, I assure you. One of the letters begins, I say is, not was. The lyrics to Lennon's last album occur in 1950s Ayn Rand films in this semiotic chain. So, reproach, but don't be so hasty.